Hey, David Wood here, and welcome to My Extra Mile. The show this week, network marketing multiplies six-figure income earners per year. Allan Lari Hilzinger really share their journey, their early journey, and take you back to what they would do differently if they were starting over. There are so many gems, so many tips. So enjoy the show. And please subscribe, share. And if you're listening on a podcast, please come and join me on my Instagram and my Facebook at David T.S. Wood. Enjoy the show. Hey everyone, I'm so happy. I got two of my great friends here, and Allan Lari. Al, Larry, professional network marketers, Isogenics, multiple six-figure income earners. Very, very cool. I just want to sort of dig into it because, you think about what's happening in the world right now. And if you're listening right now, COVID's going on, but if you're listening in a year from now, then maybe you may be going through a different kind of COVID. You may be losing a job or losing a partner or going through a divorce. So whether we talk about COVID or not doesn't matter. It's just what obstacles in front of you. Larry, let me start with you. Take me back, before network marketing and this kind of life you've created. And I know the life you've created. And I know that, there's peaks, valleys, and plateaus in that. But take us back to what was life like for you pre-network marketing, pre this kind of journey you've been on? What was happening in life for you?
Yes, David. So for me, just before I started network marketing, I actually, I'd had two girls at that point. We had lost a son at birth, and I'd lived in Japan for 10 years. I found in Japan the, really late work hours and what was needed as a mother was a little bit extreme. So we decided to move back to Australia, and I was working as a school teacher. And I figured, it's a great job with kids. And the thing was, it was so much work that I felt like I didn't see my kids in Australia either. And so I was kind of searching for something else, and look, we had a few businesses that we were running at the time, and it was fun. But once again, it was taking more and more time away from our kids, and we just weren't making ends meet.
It's very romantic, though, this 10 years in Japan. And just for everyone, those people that don't speak foreign languages, just tell me in 12 words, what was it like living in Japan in Japanese?
日本が大好きですよね。日本人がとても好きです。
There you go. All right. Now, everyone who's listening, you have to figure out what she said. You have to play it back. All right. And those of you that guess it, if you post it in the comments and you guess it right, you get it right, I'm going to put you in for some coaching. All right. So here we go. All right. So, but talk about that. Sort of, a lot of people don't have that, the courage sometimes to leave what they know, that's sort of the comfort zone. But for you to sort of grow up on a farm and end up in Japan and become fluent in Japanese, how did that sort of happen? How did you sort of find that path?
Yeah, David, I was so fortunate that from a young age, my parents always cultivated a sense of responsibility. And being from a family of 7, I was often looking after the younger kids because we were on a farm. And there was a lot of work involved, and we did have to bring ourselves up. I kind of look back now and think, man, like, it's so awesome, and I kind of want my children to be in the same situation that they're going to look after themselves, they're going to fend for themselves. And so I went away to boarding school. I left home at 12, and I had to grow up really quickly. And my parents had a lot of expectations as well. And I think it was a great thing for me because I thrived in that environment. And so I was never actually afraid, and I was really curious. So I went to Japan when I was 15 the first time. And I think, I was just really fortunate to have these opportunities, and also, to not be afraid. And look, don't get me wrong, as you said, there was times when I did struggle with it. But I was really fortunate that I was a young age, and I gave it a shot. So I actually don't really have a problem stepping out of my comfort zone because of the way I was brought up. It's a good thing.
Now, take us back. Life before network marketing, I mean, you were a coach, high level, but I mean, time was your enemy a little bit, right? I mean, you were away a lot. Talk about what was that like being a father and really, you know, you were, I think, really a passionate coach because you still are. You know, I can see it, and a very good coach. But you know, what was that like? What give us a sort of a glimpse into life before network marketing?
Yeah, it was an interesting, definitely an interesting roller coaster journey. Unlike Larry, I wasn't very adept to change. I suppose it's earlier in life anyway. So even when network marketing came along, it was one of those things where I was a little bit nervous. But for me, probably the biggest thing that I really struggled with was the time with the kids, the time with Larry. So at the time, literally just before I discovered network marketing, I was the CEO of Gold Coast Basketball. It's one of the larger organisations in Australia as far as basketball goes anyway. And we would travel off. I'd set it up so I was actually travelling a lot, even though like I love to travel. And it was like it was competing, so to speak. Like I love to travel, but I really wanted to travel with Larry and travel with the girls. So I was kind of fulfilling one side of my cup, and the other it was draining. Does that? That makes sense. So for me, I would wake up at 7 o'clock. I'd spend a little bit of time with the girls literally before they went to school. And that was about the only time I got to see them. I'd be home at probably 9, 10 o'clock. And given that sport in an environment, you know, with trainings and things like that, you're talking about people having to come in after their work, which meant I had to sacrifice my after work time, so to speak. And I just never saw the kids. Weekends, we'd be off at tournaments. I'd be having competitions going. We'd be running events, all this kind of stuff. So literally, I'd probably see my kids for an hour in the morning. And that really hurt me. And I was looking for a way. So we launched a eBay business at the same time. And it was turning over, just prior to us discovering network marketing, it was turning over around $500,000. So if you kind of think about that, I already didn't have time. We added an eBay business in. I would get home at 9 or 10 o'clock. Larry would already be wrapping all these items. We had a garage full of just $100,000 worth of stock. And then we'd go to bed at probably 2 o'clock in the morning. So we were looking for another way, and we knew we were kind of on the right path, but not fulfilling what we wanted.
You sort of went online, but then the complexities of running a warehouse out of your garage, right? Talk to me about this idea then, because entrepreneurs, you know, from the farm, kind of fearless. But when you sort of looked at network marketing, were you resistant in the beginning? A lot of people are. Was it an immediate understanding? And what allowed you to both? I'll start with you, Al. What allowed you to cross that bridge and go from entrepreneurship and a great career? I mean, you're the head of. You've sort of worked your way up to the top of something, and what was that like to sort of suddenly make this big decision to say, all right, let's turn the ship and let's go left, right?
There were a couple of things. I was skeptical. However, I've always been open to opportunities. And, you know, over those last few years leading into moving into network marketing, we've been doing a lot of work around wealth creation, around mindset, because we were looking for a better way, hence going into the eBay route. So when it came along, I actually looked at it and was like, it sounds too good to be true. So when I sat down and I was like, really? Like, is that possible? Like, here we are. I'm wrapping presents gifts that we're sending off on eBay at 1 a.m. in the morning. And you're telling me I can make this level of money through connecting with people and helping other people. And, you know, of course, Larry always says that people don't message us back and say, oh my God, this is the greatest glassware I've ever received. It just changed my life. So skeptical. And then what changed it for me was seeing, like, yes, I felt a shift from the products themselves and seeing Larry shift. It was when I realized that we'd shared with my mother, my sister, and one of my best friends. And when they were coming back saying things like, oh my gosh, like, this is how I feel. And then we got paid. I was like, okay, I think it's time to have a little bit more of a look at this. And
so your first company is Isogenics. You didn't have prior network marketing experience. No. That's so cool. Larry, you were used to hard work. And network marketing, I always say it's called network marketing, not net sit on my butt marketing or net play marketing. But, you know, Was it hard because farming hard, the Japanese culture, you know, they're very, very hardworking, right? Talk a little bit about, has it been challenging to sort of let go of the hard part of work and sort of settle into network marketing a little bit? Like, do you know what I'm saying?
I probably make things harder. If anything, give it to me and I'm sure I can make it harder. I actually was I was more skeptical about network marketing than Allan was. And that was probably inbred from a young age. I remember when my first degree, when I graduated, I was offered a sales job and my father said, you never take anything with a commission. And he was very specific about that. And, you know, I trusted him because he was an amazing businessman. And so, even, you know, in Japan, in the 10 years I worked in Japan, I'd never come across any network marketers. And the only network marketers I had come across, I wasn't really pleased with the way that they had approached me. So when I realized it was a network marketing company, I wanted nothing to do with the business side of it, but I was going to take the products. And the only reason I personally shared, it was different to Allan, was that I wanted my friends to feel the same way that I was feeling. And I was prepared to tell them, you know what, if it doesn't work for you, you know, send it back, because I didn't want any hard relationships. And then too, it wasn't even about the money. It was purely about, I wanted them to have amazing physical and to feel good in their skin like I was feeling. However, I remember the phone call that I received from a really good friend that she told me that, you know what, she had earned $200 that week from sharing Isogenics with some people. And she said how much that, like, she was telling me that, you know, had transformed her life, and even how she felt towards her husband and the impact that had had. And up until that point, it was all physical for me. And this was a game changer. And just listening to that conversation, and I realized the gift that I actually had was a huge opportunity to help so many people. And so I became more open to it. One thing I've never actually, at times, you know what, I've become about the money, but if I really look back at all the things that I've done, it's never actually been about the money. The money comes because of the really cool stuff that I do. And when I'm focused on that, that's when everything's in flow. And that's when I love life the most too. So that was kind of my draw card in, and why I loved what I had available to me.
You know, Al, the majority of network marketers, I mean, the majority of people listening are part-time, right? I mean, and anyone who's got a downline understands, you know, the 85, 90%, you could be higher, customers who share a little tiny bit. And it's just, so the idea of you having the eBay business, you had another business, I believe, and then you have this, you know, you're teaching, you got 2 young girls, and you got, you know, your basketball career, and now you're taking on this one other thing. How did you both navigate the part-time part of Isogenics? Because I think a lot of people say, oh, I just don't have the time. Well, here you are, right? Getting home at 9 o'clock, and, you know, you're in the garage there doing that and about to build a business. How did you sort of transition from all of this other work into a professional network marketer? And again, I want to remind people that you're multiple 6-figure income earners, soon to be 7. I mean, that's coming. I mean, maybe, when do you think? When do you think you'll be a 7-figure income? 1 or 2 more years, or?
Yeah, a couple of years. That's definitely that's the plan. By the end of 2022, we're there.
Yeah. You know, and it's obvious to me that's going to happen. But, you know, what's the beauty of our profession is, you know, if you miss it by a bit, you know, you're still almost a 7-figure income earner, right? So talk to us about that transition, because I think a lot of people get stuck there. You know, It's kind of like they behave like a part-timer dabbling, so they never really get it going, right? Or some people leave so early and jump in with both feet, not realizing that this is a real profession that takes time to build, you know, so you can have a sustainable, you know, residual income versus, you know, because, you know, you've seen your income do this, flat, down, up, flat, right? So talk us through it.
Great question. Wow, that's a loaded question too, David. So let's start with the fact that, we also had a third business, which was a startup sports tour company. So that was kind of in the works. We had business partners, which made that a little bit messier as Isogenics began to grow as well. So how do we start? Well, really it was, to me, us working out what time frame we could do Isogenics. So literally during my other jobs, during my job as a CEO, I would just talk to people, casually talk to people. I was a product of the product. I had great first 30-day results. So as we were starting to look at this as a serious business, people were organically asking as well. So that was one way, was we just blended it in with what we were already doing. We're just living life and telling people about it, not keeping it secret at our work, just being open about that. That was one thing. The second thing was us finding a balance. And one of the things was, when we first started this, we were both all in. However, I didn't have the same fear around rejection or how the conversations were going or things like that. So I was very direct, a lot of conversations, playing numbers. I just worked out that if I play enough numbers and I talk to enough people are going to say yes. And on the nose, all I went about doing when I ever got the nose was just, one, treating that in my mind as a not yet, but also ensuring that when I got a no, that I kept the relationship, knowing that this was a long-term game. I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't do. Is like, oh, they get a no and it's, oh, well, they're out of their relationship. And the amount of people that we've had join 4, 5, 6 years that I spoke to in our first 30 to 90 days is crazy, because we've kept the relationship and haven't just talked.
And they've watched you, right? I mean, they're watching what you're doing, and over time they're seeing that what you've said, because 30 days in, we kind of hope it's true, right? Yeah. You're living proof it's true, right? So
yeah, 100%. And then Larry was like, you know what? I'm going to continually seed people, and you're great at closing. You're great at getting them enrolled. Larry's great at that initial connection. So Larry really took on the main front of the eBay business, and then passed a lot of people on to me to communicate with Isagenix. And that time that I would normally invest into eBay, I started investing into the Isagenix business and connecting with people. And literally, like, I would have, because the time frame I was building was like 10 o'clock. If you go back to all the people that I enrolled, most of my initial messages would be between like 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. in the morning. I would literally have 20 Facebook Messenger little, those little tabs.
Yeah.
And it's changed a little bit how Facebook is with everything, but I would have all the tabs down the bottom, and it would just highlight when someone responded. So I'd hit them, and then I'd find a new person and just be waiting for one to highlight. And that's pretty much how we started building the business in the pockets of the time. And then we slowly transitioned. We cut down how much we were doing on eBay. And then, moved forward as we were going through. The more money we made in Isagenix, the more we let go of the other stuff.
It's interesting. Before I go to you, Larry, I just want Al, because I think this is something a lot of people, they get in the comparison game. And we can talk to you both about this. But, you had some skills based on all the stuff you were doing. So the whole rejection thing was easier for you because you've been in, environments where, your muscle was grown. A lot of people think they'll look at you as, well, it's easy for you. Well, actually, in the beginning, before your muscle was grown, you still had to go through that learning curve of deciphering a no, giving it meaning, and walking through it, right? It didn't happen, but you came into Isagenix with that skill. And a lot of people look at, shooting stars or people who are multiple six-figure income earners, and they don't realize that at one point in your life, a no was hard.
Yeah.
And you gave it a different meaning, right? Is that right or not?
100%. And even like, as you say that, I think to myself, wow, yeah, you're 100% correct. Like, I remember coaching basketball in Indonesia in this tight environment with 5,000 people all chanting Indonesia, Indonesia. And here I am coaching a team, and you just feel like the whole world's against you. Yeah. And it's like one person saying, you know what, it's not for me. To me, it was very much, I think that was one of my superpowers that definitely helped us to grow significantly quicker, was just being able to move on from that. And I also knew it was a long-term game. Like, in business, in entrepreneurship, we'd already started doing so many different things that even when we started this, it's one of the beautiful things that I remember sitting down with Larry and saying, it's like, we're in this. We're not going to, if we're going to pursue this, we're not going to just see if it works for the next 3 months. It's like, when we make this decision, we're going, and we're going to do this properly, or let's just not do it at all.
Larry, talk us through that transition for you from, hardworking, again, let's not forget the girls, right? You got to raise two kids, and your kids are really, I mean, they're all out, right? They're beautiful and they're like passionate about life in the moment. So it's not like you had two little girls sitting there. Yes, mommy. They're like, Mom, let's go play. They're like full out. So talk to us about, your transition and how hard was that sort of balancing or when Al stepped out a little bit and you took more of the reins of eBay, was that easier for you then to do that? I mean, how did you navigate it?
Yeah, so it's funny, when I worked as a school teacher, David, I used to teach the elite students. So I taught business in Japanese, and those students, sorry, a little bit of a diversion, but it explains it well. Those students, literally, they had to do all their study. They're Australian, for want of better words. I mean, they were English native speakers and they're learning in Japanese. So they have to do all their study in Japanese, right? And they were also the same kids that played a musical instrument and that had babysitting jobs and would get up for swimming lessons at 5 a.m. and captain the school. And, I saw on a constant day that they excelled in everything. And so I never really thought it was just about prioritizing what you needed to do. And so even though we did have a lot of balls in the air, and you know what, honestly, it was messy. And I was questioning how we were doing it constantly. In spite of that, though, we had these goals. And even, with the girls, in actual fact, the girls were quite young. And I feel like they need more of my time now than what they did then.
Right.
They were really happy playing with a cardboard box while I'm sitting there talking to people on the phone. Or
and luckily you had a garage full of cardboard boxes.
Exactly.
It's like, why is all the glassware broken? We're just playing with the boxes.
And you know what though, you've got to let that stuff go, right? Like there were breakages and there were times when I thought, I'm the worst mother in the world. That there's times when things were really messy. And in fact, actually our sports business, tour business, we had a big blow up with the people that we're working with because they didn't want to do anything to do with network marketing, and they knew that our priorities had changed. Right. And so, it wasn't easy, so to speak. Yeah, was it worth it? Yes. And I would do things differently now with certain hindsights. By the same token, we were really, like Allan said, we were set on our goal, and, however that was going to happen. So we just kept navigating the route and prioritizing, really. So it was challenging, definitely. And that was particularly hard work, but I'm so pleased that we did really go hard at first, because it set, we were able to see, what was actually possible for us during that period of time. And we'd committed, this is a long-term game, but we'll push really hard here. But at the same time as committing, we really saw a clear vision as well. Because I remember actually after one of your events, David, going home and ringing my best friends. No, I just had this posture, and I rang them and I said, look, we're going to be really successful at doing this. I really, really, really want you to do this. And because I've got a relationship with them, I was able to, still put the ball in their court. And actually both of them said, okay, I'll seriously think about it. And it was a few weeks later, they both got on board with us. And it was, because we were taking those actions and we set those goals and we had clear vision of where we were going, people wanted to get on board.
Yeah, that's great, by the way. And I love that, because I actually remember when I first met you and so seeing that posture shifting, it's so cool. Let's talk about that idea. Network marketers can get a bad rap, and there's a lot of people who are listening, if they're not into network marketing or they're not in isogenics, they have a perception of what it is. And I actually think the reason why network marketing does get a bad rap is because people do come across in the beginning as fake, or they try too hard, or they expect, they put this pressure on their family to somehow get involved with them. And I always joke, you've heard me say this on stage so many times, if you were a plumber, you wouldn't go home at Christmas and expect all the family to suddenly become plumbers, and you wouldn't keep talking about the freaking toilet and the pipes, right? It just wouldn't happen. No other profession on earth except us, network marketers, expect our families and our mothers and brothers and sisters. Talk to me a little bit about the schmom factor that does occur, and someone's new and because they're not really in, and they're kind of like, they're in that dance yet of growing and learning. So they do come across as disingenuous sometimes, not deliberately, but because they simply don't know, or they'll learn a script. And, yeah, hey, I'm working with a $12 billion health company, and we're just looking for a couple of people to join my star team, right? And they're still a plumber, right?
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that. Why do you think, and how can we help someone listening navigate the early days so that they don't have to come across in that kind of schmarmy way, right?
I love the question, David. Love the question. I would say there's two things for me. One is, and we were very fortunate that we were already in that zone of receiving feedback. And I know this is something that even through the journey with our own coaching with you and seeing you and everything as well, is feedback's been so important. And that was one thing that really shifted. I'm sending out so many messages, but then Jackson, who had helped me get started, and then we had Carmen and Jen who had reached out to help us. The amount of feedback that we got from them saying, hey, look, change this or shift this, or how about you do this? And we would just take that straight on board. With no attachment. We knew we were new at this business. Yes, we had entrepreneurial skills, but just continually receiving that feedback to, I suppose, refine.
Refine and adjust, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's been a big key that we've carried on into our business, where literally when someone comes in, we will say to them, look, you can't send us enough messages. You can't communicate enough conversations to us. We're here to give you feedback. We're not going to tell you exactly what to say, but we'll give you guidelines around where you could change, what you could try differently, and things like that. So I think one, if anybody is brand new or anybody's wanting and not having the success, is just seek out feedback from people that have done it, had the experience, had the success, and be open to it with no attachment. We never took it on board, never took it personally. That's the first one. And then the second one was self-responsibility. So I've had from day one, and I think, again, it has been a skill that I was fortunate to have built up over the years, is that I'm open to taking full self-responsibility. So when I look at a conversation and I realize I've just vomited all over them, that I've crossed the boundary, I'm the first one that'll message them or call them and just be like, you know what? You know how passionate I am. And I'll talk back into my positives as well. So I'll be like, you know how passionate I am. I just looked back at our conversation and wow, like if I received that message, I think I'd be totally offended or I'd be put off. And I just wanted to reach out and just say, I'm sorry. The friendship means so much more to me. And the amount of those people that have either turned around and gone, oh, no, it's okay. Actually, I have kind of been interested, because the space is just, this awkwardness has just been removed, or down the track they've gone through. So they're the two biggest things for me, is just being continual feedback and always just taking self-responsibility. I don't believe that there's a single person that you communicate to that if the conversation goes wrong, that you can't rectify it.
Well, it's a great saying, right? You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. You can't say the right thing to the wrong person, right? And so, but Larry, talk about that for you, because, Al said, it was something that he already had the muscle. Did you have that muscle? I mean, did you take it personally sometimes if someone said no?
I totally took it personally.
I'm just checking, because that's what I remember. I just say it out loud, right?
And you know what?
Yeah, Alan didn't hear anyone because he wasn't listening anyway. So he didn't take it personally because he couldn't hear. No, Larry, talk about it, because I think he does have that muscle, but I saw you really struggle with that personal, really interpreting rejection and making it mean something about you personally, right? Which I think 95% of people do.
Yeah. And look, David, that still plays out in my head, even with every single person that I speak to, even today. It's just been bigger than that. And when I'm talking to them, just focusing on what could be possible for them. I actually think it's a good thing, because I don't think I've ever come across as a sleazy network marketer as a result of that either, because I've always tread very cautiously and thought about where people are coming from and what they're doing. And look, and Al will admit he did come across as a sleazy network marketer. He sometimes shows.
I was just about to say that.
I was like, I think she's having a dig here, Dave.
Al, are you proud that I didn't say a word? I thought it. I didn't say a word. I kept it in. I was going to do this.
I think either's fine though, right? I think there's different ways of doing this, and it's great that we both do it so differently, and we can help each other from different perspectives. So, yeah, I think either's fine. I love the fact with network marketing, anybody can do this. You don't have to be, you can literally, it's a entry level. And so, but with that too, but it's the same with any industry as well. There's going to be some people that are a little bit sleazy in that industry and some people that are really good in that industry. And everybody's got to start somewhere, and it's forgiveness, self-forgiveness and forgiveness of others. And you know what, if you come across as a sleazy person too, then on the other sides of things, then, there's a learning for that on the other party's side as well. So I just personally, for me, it's always holding the intention of what's possible for that person, and then speaking from the heart in that space, and then allowing them to make the decision from there.
Yeah. And sleazy, I mean, that word can be interpreted by lots of people differently. I mean, what we're talking about, just so someone listening, I don't want you to think necessarily sleazy is negative. It's just the interpretation of someone listening to you is not believing you, or, because you don't believe it. And I want to talk about that with you, Al. Belief, we know it's so powerful. We know that, people don't believe, or if you don't believe, you're not believable. And this is, again, just in alignment with what we're talking about. It's about people not seeming genuine or authentic. And talk about that, how did you both build? So we talk about the 6 areas of belief, which is belief in the products, belief in the company, belief in the compensation plan, belief in the profession of network marketing, belief in self, and then belief in self becoming a professional network marketer, which is a real subtlety, that belief that it's going to happen, especially when you're a disaster in the beginning, right? Talk to us about, the importance of belief, both of you, and then how have you navigated the belief, especially through the peaks and valleys of the natural build? Is that sometimes your business has gone flat and sometimes it's gone down and it's scary. You're like, oh my God, right? So how have you done it?
One of the biggest things, as soon as you said that, and I hadn't really thought about it a lot, was we naturally have always wanted to network with the right people. Like even within our other businesses, when we launched our eBay business, we wanted to be around people that were already doing that, were succeeding in that. So I think that was a natural progression as well, where we looked and we're like, okay, who can we hang out with? Who can we meet? Who can we learn from? And we became really good friends with yourself. We became really good friends with Warren Lance, who has mentored us amazingly, with Jen, with Carmen. We became good friends with Angus Love, who was at the time the general manager, and then Mac, and now Steve. So we've always been surrounding ourselves with the people that are going to help us move forward, and not for the intention of getting anything, for the intention that we know that they're the people that are moving forward, that are going to move us forward. So that's probably been one of the biggest keys. I remember being on stage, being at our first celebration event, 40 days in, I watched Natalie Cook on stage and I was like, man, I love everything about her. I love her energy. I love her passion. I love her vision. I'd love to just get 5 or 10 minutes, and now she's one of my best friends. So it's one of those things where it was, we kept gravitating or wanting to surround ourselves with those people. And that's definitely helped us, because in the plateaus, and yourself, like we've spoken with you at times when we've felt like we're really on a dip, that whenever we just reach out to those people and instantly they not necessarily pull you out, but they at least help point you in the right direction where you can take action on.
They help you give it a different meaning, I think, because, if you've been there before, right, it's like you being a coach of a basketball game, let's say, and someone gets crushed, right? The whole team gets crushed, and you understand that happens. That's part of the process of growing and learning and coming together as a team. Larry, what about you? Go back into this sort of this journey of you, because you said in the beginning you were more skeptical, and now, I look in your eyes and I see, absolute certainty in many of the 6 areas. And I see sometimes flickers of, like normalcy, which is like, you question, like I do, any human being does. But what was that like for you, especially as a woman?
It is building belief in the areas consistently, David. So even though one day I might feel 10 out of 10, another day, I think you've got to build beyond that as well to continue to build your belief in all the areas for me personally. And it is really key. It's just about having that posture to come from. it's not to justify it for anybody else. It's actually just to feel that stance within yourself, to have the posture within yourself. So I remember even in the early days, I had a huge piece of butcher's paper and I wrote down every reason why I couldn't succeed, right? And then I went to work to overturn that, like, you know, to create what they say, you know, like a table, to give myself legs for each one, that, you know, I could stand in that space and say, no, I have posture there. So, and
well, I want to interrupt you because I think this is such a great exercise. I love to give an exercise or homework, and this is such a great one. And I don't want you to forget where you're going, or maybe finish your sentence and we'll go back and explain exactly how to do that process, because that's a process I used to teach years ago in the Millionaire Mind Intensive. But do you want to finish what you were saying?
Well, that was it actually. Just that I did that. You know, I did it for objections as well. Like, why wouldn't somebody use the products? And I did it for my own belief. It just identifying all the things that are going on in your head and actually taking the time to listen to them and finding out what I'm making them mean as well. So, or what I make, you know, what I make them mean in relation to myself, but then in relation to others and in relation to the world.
Right. Awesome. Al, why don't you, or both of you, or Larry, just lead us through the table exercise. So again, you're using a specific strategy to reprogram the mind around certain outcomes, which a lot of people don't even do. They don't realize that whatever we're thinking can be reprogrammed. But if we're thinking something that is low energy or negative in any way, that's going to determine the feelings we have, the actions we take, and the results we have. So if we can go back and have some sort of process where we can rewire, reprogram, reestablish, reaffirm, then it's going to change how we're feeling, which is going to change the actions, change the results, right? So do you want to lead us through the table process as you did it? Do you remember?
Yeah, so the way that I do it is I'll actually write down all my thoughts, all the things that could go wrong, for example. So my family could disown me, or my friend, I won't end up, you know, I won't have any friends, and I make it really drastic, you know. I'll write them all down, and then say I've got,
give us four more, so people, because they won't get enough from that. So give us 4 or 5 other ones that you'll.
No one will join me.
I'll be ostracized. What else do?
I'll fail.
I'll fail.
Fail. Be broke.
Be broke.
Yeah, I'll be broke.
Lose all my friends.
I'll lose all my friends. My children.
Yeah, your children won't have friends. That's a great one.
I'll waste 5 years doing this, or 10 years doing this, and then I'll look back and wish I'd never done it.
Yeah,
awesome.
So there's a few examples, and then, okay, so I'll waste 5 years doing that, and then I'll look at it and I'll say, well, actually, Katie Bryan does this a different way too, right? I actually use that method these days because it's nice and fast, and my girls, I use it with my girls as well. The first one is it true? Right? And then often I'll look at it and I'll say, yeah, actually it is true. People might hate me, right? And then is it really true? And okay, well, maybe it's not true. I'm not sure, but yeah, it still is kind of true. And then who am I when I believe that this is true? And so I'll write that down. So, you know, I come across as very weak. I don't feel empowered. I
get dominated.
Yeah.
Get upset.
Get frustrated.
Withdraw.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then who could I be if I did believe that, you know, that this wasn't true? And then I'll actually write down, you know, that's such a powerful place, right? So it'll be the total opposite. It's, you know, I'd give it my best shot. I'd be going all out. I'd be setting I'd be setting a standard for my children to follow, and for others, that regardless of anything, you know, I'd be standing in my power, and then looking at that outcome. And I think it's just when you compare the lists, you know where you want to stand.
Awesome. That's such a great exercise. Al, do you want to jump in on that as well, and your experience with actually why we do things like this to help our minds find a path, versus just carrying on with the same mind. Because if someone's listening to us right now and they're broke, they're in an unhealthy body, or they're in a healthy body, but they're broke, and they're not in great relationships, or they're unhappy. If we keep doing the same thing with the same mind, we're going to keep getting the same result, right?
Yeah. And even for us, that was a big thing as well, looking at all the things that we didn't want in our life or that we didn't like in our life. Very similar to not just the network marketing, but didn't like that I didn't get to spend any time with my girls. But then reframing that on that paper, being able to reframe that to go, if we focus on not having the time with the girls, then we're going to keep not getting the time with the girls. But what is it that is the reverse or the opposite of that? And I want to be able to travel the world with my girls. I want to be able to take them amazing places. I want to be able to take time out and spend quality time with them, that they remember a dad who did spend quality time with them. And that's where we stayed focused on. So it's really just getting that, exactly what you said with you used to train on it in the millionaire mindset, getting all that negative out, all the past beliefs, and realizing where they came from. And it's not ignoring them, it's acknowledging them. Do they ever go away? No, they're always there. It was just us acknowledging them and going, you know what? Those doubts, those fears, they're always there. And then choosing that we're going to focus on this. And as the journey's been, even since then, we've taken our girls to Disneyland 3 times. We went to Lapland. For those that don't know Lapland, just go Google Santa's Village Lapland and you'll just see the most amazing. Do
you think it's called Lapland because you have to sit on Santa's lap at Christmas? I just put those two together. I've never said that before, but I just thought Lapland, Santa, yeah.
But it is totally why they named it.
It would be for sure.
I never thought those. Yeah, absolutely. And and again, but they're very much the fabric, even of your business. I mean, if all your team come over to the house, the kids are just part of it. They're not like in another room. They feel like they belong. And if it comes to an event, right, they're in the middle of it, which is awesome. We don't have long left on the show. I just wanted to, you see where we've gone. I'd like to sort of explore on another show with you about why you chose Isagenix, what that looked like. But I think because we spent so much time, with this sort of the starting part of your journey. And I want to remind people, again, we talked about multiple 6-figure income earners that have really been able to create a beautiful life and are still in the creation process. But if you could go back to the beginning and talk to yourself day one and coach yourself. So you with everything you've learned over the last 6.5 years, you're just going to go back and you're going to sit each other down. All right. So in fact, it would be actually funny if you did it against each other. Right? If you were going to coach Larry, no, you're going to end up divorced. No, but Larry, if you could go back and coach yourself and give yourself a leg up, more of a head start or whatever. The reason I keep talking is because I know it's going to take you a second to process. So that's the reason I'm repeating the question. And by the way, those of you listening right now, if you'd love to come and join us, I'm going to give them a little a commercial interruption here. You can join me on Instagram, David T.S. Wood, or Facebook, David T.S. Wood. And we'd love to have you there, join the conversation, and come and be a part of that. So back to the question. Go back, coach yourself day one. Let's start with who's ready? Who's more ready?
I think I'll go. It's all good. So my coaching would definitely be around what are you really focused on? That would be my question to myself way back 6.5 years ago, because I think people and I back then would focus. I thought I was focused on a particular thing, but I was so caught up in the nitty-gritty day-to-day thing. Sometimes I'd end up back there. And so as much as I could think and I could do all the affirmations in the world saying, I'm financially free and it didn't mean anything, because I was actually living and spending most of my time stuck in the nitty-gritty that, we didn't have enough money to pay the bills, and I didn't, wasn't spending enough time with the kids, as opposed to just recognizing that was there and taking that one step in the opposite direction. And it took me, and I still work on that constantly, getting caught up sometimes in my current reality as opposed to what's possible. And so that would be the advice that I'd give myself, to really say, hey, what are you really focused on, to be aware of that, because I honestly believe I was focused on this because I'm doing all the affirmations, I'm doing all the work, but in reality, I got caught up a little bit here for some time. And I, you know, as I said, I still sometimes do that too. So it's something that I'm constantly working on, but I'd love to master that skill much earlier in my journey.
Yeah, and that was a lot of guilt with that as well, right? So you were going that guilt, you know, which is not a great place to build from, right? And so, you know, if I'm just going to decipher what you just said, you know, you go back and sit yourself down and say, you know, what are you focused on? And focusing on the end result and really the life you're building versus getting caught up in the guilt and minutia of how you're building and what you're learning and the time away from the kids. Am I deciphering that correctly?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Al?
I would probably shift if I reverse back, there'd be two things I would do. One is I would start sharing instantly. So I wouldn't wait. We waited until our 30 days was up and didn't believe, obviously, not didn't believe, but we were unsure in network marketing. So I would have at least put my foot in from day one and started sharing my journey as to what I was doing. And it's something that we definitely encourage everybody to do now when they get started, is to just share it, even for accountability. So people are watching. You don't have to go out there and build a network marketing business, but I would definitely.
Because I want people to understand what that means. So if you're just starting out I know exactly what you mean, but I want you to decipher it for somebody who's listening. So they're starting out on the journey by using the product. How do they start sharing that? Because, you know, in a way that's elegant.
Yeah, definitely.
That will help them get the ball rolling after 30 days. But there's really elegant ways to do that, right?
Yeah, definitely. And for me and every single person we get to now make themselves accountable, there's no come join me. Because then people look at it. I find, this is my perception, is that people look at that and go, well, they're only posting that they're doing this because they want people to join them. So we really engage people, and how I would do it now. I'll use my example. If I was going back to my first 30 days to make a post, I would post why I was doing this and share my vision as to what I want to achieve and ask everyone to cheer me on. And that would be as simple as that. It would be along the lines of, I'm really excited and nervous at the same time that I'm starting a 30-day nutritional cleanse, or I'm starting a new health journey, whatever it happens to be, whatever wording sits right for me. And the reason I'm doing this is, one, I've got literally no energy. So even with the hour or two that I get to spend with my girls, I feel like that's not quality time. I've lost my passion for life, or whatever those little things would be. Yeah. And I'm really excited. So stay tuned. I'll keep you guys updated as to what this journey looks like. And that would pretty much be.
I love the little bit you just said, which you didn't say that time, which I love. And you know, please cheer me on. You know, the idea that you're inviting people to help out by cheering, because I see people do respond quickly to that. Hey, way to go, way to go. You know, it's like, yeah, you go. Because it is about them. It's not about being got. It's about assisting somebody else. And I think everybody deep down in their core wants to contribute. So you're giving people, with that kind of post, you're giving people a chance to contribute without spending any money, right? All they got to say is, you go, guy, right?
And then you know, the way the Facebook algorithms work, they're commenting, you get a lot more comments. And we find that the people that post up, come and join me, who wants to do this with me, get not much. First thing, the people that are like, this is about me, and I'm doing this for me, and these are the reasons, here's my vision, get all these comments. One of the other little things that we've been doing, just subtly, to use the word, is we've aligned with the Isagenix 2.0 for people's posts, and they don't even realize, because they're not in the business, so they don't hear this Isagenix 2.0 and all this kind of stuff. So it would be how I would now post if I was day one again right now, would be at the very end, I would have something like #stay tuned, #Allan 2.0.
Right.
And little things like that. So people are like, oh, that's really cool. Like, this is a new chapter in my life. This is where I'm starting. This is my new vision. Because to everyone else out in the world, they don't really know what, like I said, Isagenix 2.0 is, but they do know what a 2.0 is. It's a new beginning. It's a fresh, it's a new way. So.
And I interrupted you. You had 2 points. One thing, that was one coach. What was the second part of your coaching? Do you remember?
Would be, what was I saying? Yeah, sorry.
To write shit down.
One would be to start sharing in the first 30 days. And it would be to write it down. Was the second one now? I'll crack my beer while I'm thinking about it by myself.
Hey, cheers. Cheers.
I can't wait till we get them in Australia. Are they good?
Oh my gosh, they're so. I don't drink carbonated drinks ever, and it's just so tasty. And I had Warren Lance was here yesterday, and Sean Owen, and Carl McCrash, and Rob Stewart were all here for the weekend. And so two of them had not tasted this, and I let them. Oh, three of them, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's so delicious!" So yeah, that is like a home run. It's awesome.
Nice. I did see you hit.
Shall we have a little cheers to Dr. Plant?
Cheers. Cheers, Dr. Plant.
Oh, did you say I forgot Sean?
No, I saw you hit Sean with the golf ball. That was good.
Well, he deserved it. I was going to hit him with a club.
What he doesn't realize, if he watches the replay, you aimed at him.
That was going to be a lob shot.
Floated down. I've seen how your eyes just drew. I do know what the second one was. The second one was I was very product focused, very, very product focused. And I'm not sure if I reflect on it, I'm not 100% sure why, but it wasn't until I would say almost a year until I really started sharing what was possible financially with people and that they could earn income from this. Some of them knew, and yes, they would see that we're making income. And when they asked, then we would share. But from day one, as soon as people ordered their products, I would let them know that they could, get there. And the way that we're using the wording at the moment, which has been really, really effective, is aiming at, let's get your next product paid for. Because I know a lot of people focus on the past, and because we've been really honing in on vision, future. It's like, oh, let's get the products you just ordered paid for. But I'm like, no, because this is a long-term journey. They've already paid for them. So we've been really focusing in on, hey, let's get your next order covered. Let's get enough money in there that your next order you're not going to have to pay for. And then that becomes the normal. And then we progress through. So if I was coaching myself, I definitely coach myself through really doubling down on how good our compensation plan is, how this is an opportunity literally for anyone, and sharing the money.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. We're going to do a few other shows coming up here, but I just want to thank everyone listening. It's called My Extra Mile for a reason. It's about those small incremental steps. So if you take one thing from this show and implement it, that's that 1%, increase, that 1% each day, waking up and trying to improve 1% in any area. And we can sort of really move towards our dreams and goals. So Allan Lari, thank you so much. And I look forward to all of our times together, but I look forward to our next conversation.